Shaleen.
So, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in. We are highly obliged to have with us Dr. Devi Prasad Shetty to share his views on various domains of health and how to stay healthy and live a beautiful life. I am Dr. Yash Yadav with my colleagues Dr. Saksham Sharma and Gauri Narayani, who will be moderating today's event.
Sir, as we know that Indians are generally most vulnerable and susceptible to heart diseases and heart attacks, and in healthcare setups where we work, we've seen a drastic change that earlier heart diseases were supposed to be diseases of the old and the retired, but right now we see patients coming in with age group like as early as 30s or late 30s undergoing angiographies and angioplasties. So what are your views on it?
Fine. I have been criticized many times by people when I say that, as far as I am concerned, everyone is a heart patient past the age of 35, 40, unless proven otherwise. All I am trying to say is that it doesn't matter how fit you are, how strong you are, how athletic you are. Unless you have undergone a routine blood test, a ECG, echocardiogram, and a CT angio to prove that you have no early coronary artery disease or coronary artery anomalies, you are a suspect. Every day, so many people, young people, die in the gym running on a treadmill. So many people collapse in the field playing football or any competitive sports. These are needless deaths. They don't need to die prematurely. All we have to do is to accept that half the patients, especially in India, with coronary artery disease, suffer from silent ischemia. They may have critical blockages, but they are not aware of it. We have done the CT angio on nearly 30,000 patients, Indians. 1.5% of Indians have coronary artery anomalies. Their coronary artery comes from the wrong side. And one variety of the coronary anatomy wherein there is a malignant course where the coronary artery goes between aorta and the pulmonary artery. If they exert, if their pressure reaches up to 180, 200, they can have a ventricular fibrillation. And huge number, 1 in 500 people have hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. There may not be an obstruction, but they have a hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. A simple ECG will show. So it is not the question of the how fit or how strong, how athletic you are. You may run a marathon race. That doesn't mean anything to me. I want to see your ECG, I want to see your echo, I want to see your CT angio. All you know, I see so many I live in the middle of electronic city. Young people who drink like fish, smoke like chimney. Company says you go for a test, the routine test. They get the echocardiogram, it's normal. They get a stress test on a treadmill. They come with a normal report. And 3 months later, they drop down dead. Because stress tests will not show 30%, 50%, 60% blockage. And if they bleed into that plaque, they die. I understand the radiology, the exposure to radiation in a CT angio. You need to get it done once in 10 years. That is nothing. So I am of the strong opinion that every Indian past the age of 25, 30 has to undergo these 3 basic tests.
So, Yash, can you take it forward from here? Thank you, sir, for the...
Sir, I want to ask how to solve the dilemma of food in our people. Like, there are always 2 schools of thought. Like, few years back, Indians were demoralized on consumption of ghee and were shifted to olive oil, thinking it's good for health. But what we see recently is in USA that desi ghee has become a superfood there. So what are your views on this? And can you please share some heart-healthy superfoods?
See, there is nothing like a very rigid diet program. Too much of our Indian diet consists of too much of carbohydrate. We consume huge amount of carbohydrate, starting from chapati, rice. Our staple diet is carbohydrate. So if we can equalize protein, carbohydrate, oil, and everything, it doesn't matter whether you are a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. Avoid the red meat. Red meat, every study showed that red meat is not good. Other than that, then a lot of people practice vegan. I have nothing against or for vegan. You can follow anything you want, but take a balanced diet. The best parameter is check your body weight, make sure that it is within that acceptable standards for your height and weight and age. And get your blood test done. As long as your blood sugar is not high, as long as your other parameters are, liver function is good, because we have a very high incidence of fatty liver, which can lead to many other problems. So for fatty liver, if you have to change your diet, reduce the carbohydrates, right? And you can see a dramatic difference. So essentially, I do not want people to go overboard on diet, and don't revolve your life around a very rigid diet. As such, life is very stressful. Don't make food also is a stressful factor.
Thank you, sir. So we definitely agree to what you said. So another hot topic right now, like many people are closely monitoring. I wouldn't say that there is a sense of panic right now, but they are closely concerned about the new variant that has hit us, the Omicron variant. And so since you're a part of the Karnataka State's COVID task force team, and as well as the first 2 cases were detected there. So what do you make of it?
See, I am a very, since I'm addressing only doctors, I'm okay. I think it's only doctors are in the audience, isn't it? Or
yes,
others are also. Sorry?
Most of them are doctors.
Okay. See, you go by last 2 years, 1.5 years, I have spent a lot of time in understanding the COVID. Initially, it's because country was locked down and there wasn't much happening in the hospitals. So I had a lot of time. Then our ICU started getting busy. Then we all got involved. I had plenty of time to read. Now, my hypothesis, I don't have any study to prove, is that when you learn about Spanish flu, which happened, many years ago, there is no history after 18 months. After 18 months, you don't get any reference. It's like COVID, the Spanish flu disappeared after 18 months. Now, why Spanish flu disappeared? Because that is the lifespan of probably that is the lifespan of most of the epidemics. In that period, it underwent many mutations. Why COVID is still alive now, even after 18 months? Because during the period of Spanish flu, there was no test. Now we have tests to do. So we know who's positive, who's negative, what variant, and we know a lot more about it. Generally, the opinion is that as the time passes by, the virus becomes more transmissible, but it becomes less virulent, less pathogenic, less fatal. It is the interest of the virus that the host doesn't die, because if the host dies, why Ebola didn't spread? Ebola is also a virus. It spread because anyone who it infected, they died. So these fatal viruses will confine to small area and they die out. Whereas the viruses which have a different character in terms of keeping most of the people alive, they are the ones who keep on spreading, and it goes from one person to the other person. But of course, in the process, some people do die. So my gut feeling is that Delta will be replaced by Omicron or Omicron, and that will be a much, much milder version. And also, just as doctors, I can show you, there is a very famous pulmonologist in Bangalore. I don't wish to name. And he goes to the COVID ICU in a suit with one N95 mask. And he says that all these PPEs and all those things, that is of no use. And he himself is a pulmonologist and he's past the age of 60. He's vulnerable. Actually, we all thought that people of my age shouldn't be anywhere near the hospital, right? So essentially, our understanding of the disease is much, much better. We are not dealing with the unknown devil. It is a devil, no doubt, but it is not very much unknown. And I believe that we are going through an endemic phase wherein this will spread very fast, no doubt. But because we are all immunized with vaccines, or whether most of us are already infected, so I believe that it is not going to be anything serious. I hope at some point of time, I can confidently tell everybody that stop doing the COVID test and creating the panic, just leave it, right? But time hasn't come yet. We'll wait for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's see how the variant patients behave, how many of them will land in the ICU, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a lot more than what they have reported. It is already here in the country. Some of them have been isolated. It may be here, but the good news is if it is here, we are the winners, because the COVID ICU everywhere is virtually empty. Virtually most of the COVID ICUs are full. And I would be very surprised if we don't have Omicron already in our place.
So listening to you calms our nerves down, and we keep fingers crossed for future. So next, I want to ask you, like, how can I target my neighborhood to become a blue zone? For our viewers who don't know what a blue zones is, these are the geographical areas in which people have low rates of chronic disease and live life longer than anywhere else.
Yeah, well, can you repeat the question?
Sir, how can I target my neighborhood to become a blue zone?
For the COVID or any?
So for general health.
General health. Okay. The people in some parts of the world live much, much longer than us, mainly because of the environment. They for example, the New Zealand, some of the European countries, their environment, there is very little industrialization, very, very little pollution, hardly any infectious diseases like what we have. Every area has challenges, but we can definitely create a much better healthy environment for us in India, because during the COVID lockdown, you have seen, we can first time since I was born, I could hear the birds chirping early morning. Otherwise, by that time, the traffic sound is so much that we don't hear the birds chirping. And we could feel the freshness of the air. There are many, many things we can do collectively, but obviously we have so many other priorities. We are all fighting for our survival. So, but it is a matter of time with the education, literacy, affluence. These things are going to get better. Yeah, but in the process of reaching there, every country went through what we are going through. US and Europe didn't become a very healthy place from the beginning. They did go through our phase. They did go through a lot of pollution. They did go through many problems. London had some of the worst epidemic diseases because of the the contamination through sewage water, and they learned and they got it better. Yeah, we are also going in the same direction. We will go there. Yeah, we will reach there.
Thank you, sir. So coming back to the healthcare in India, so how can healthcare in India be transformed, and how we as young doctors can take it forward?
Yes, you see, You know something, it is already getting transformed. I will tell you how it is getting transformed. First thing is, with all the I'm always critical of medical education. I'm always critical of the shortage of PG seats, UG seats. With all these limitations, we have done very well. The higher education is nearly reaching of our dream that UG and PG seats should get equalized. We are not yet there, but we are reaching there. Thanks to all the new government policies, NMC, National Board has done a phenomenal job in increasing the number of PG seats, starting 6-year specialization courses. There are many, many good things have happened. But the game-changing factor in transforming the way healthcare is delivered, apart from the digitization EMR, is the startups who will dramatically address the pain points. I will give you one example. There is a company called PhonePe. I'm sure you are aware of it. Yesterday, I saw an advertisement that they are selling a health insurance for a 1 lakh rupees coverage. And guess what is the premium is? What do you think for 1 lakh? And there are no pre-existing conditions. Anything they cover, they don't want to know. You're a person who's alive with the PhonePe app in your phone, you're eligible. And you pay 999 rupees, they will give you health insurance for 1 lakh rupees for 1 year. Right? By any account, that is absurd. That is not possible. Because statistically, if you cover 100 people, at least 4 people will claim some kind of insurance. All they need is one person to claim 1 lakh rupees. Their 100 people premium is gone. And they're not stupid. It is. I think it is the main investor is Walmart, and they are some of the smartest people. So what they will do is they would like working class people to taste what health insurance is. And when that happens, gradually 999 rupees is nothing. I have already told my wife and my family members, all the maids, all your drivers, everyone buy the health insurance. Because if we can get cover up to 1 lakh rupees, 80% of the procedures on the human body can be done with 1 lakh rupees. How many people need heart operation? How many people need brain surgery or a cancer operation? Most of the procedures and hospitalization can be covered with 1 lakh rupees. That is the best thing can happen. Now, company will lose the money. But over a period of time, they have introduced the concept of health insurance. 17 years ago, we started a health insurance along with state government. Karnataka state government is one of the most progressive governments. When we came with a very crazy idea that with 5 rupees per month, you can get millions of farmers to get all the health insurance benefits for surgeries, including heart operation. Nobody believed us, but the government had the guts to say that, fine, we will sponsor. And they became a reinsurer. And we did about 1.2 million surgeries. We had over 4 million farmers subscribing. And it was a successful program. Now, this PhonePe insurance, I am very, very happy that somebody has taken the initiative to start it. A lot more startups will get into it. As doctors, we should support, because we don't know how this world runs. They know how this world runs. Amazon made losses for more than 10 years. And today it's a successful company. So these financial intermediaries will come in the center, and they will be the distributing agent. They will be the financial intermediaries for the healthcare. When that happens, what will happen is every hospital will become financially viable. Because most of us run the hospital, constantly talk about affordable healthcare, constantly driving down the cost. And we have reached a stage, we cannot drive down the cost anymore. I left England in 1989. The first patient I did the operation in Calcutta paid 1.5 lakh rupees for a bypass grafting. 32 years later, I'm doing the same operation for less than 1.5 lakh rupees, for 1 lakh 10, 1 lakh 20,000. Some people pay 90,000 rupees. So what was costing 1.5 lakh rupees 32 years ago is costing you 1 lakh rupees today. So there is no point in us talking about affordable healthcare anymore. We should help these companies to prosper. We should maintain a integrity, service with integrity, not taking advantage of these insurance companies, and support them, introduce them to patients so that they become more and more popular. So when a patient comes to us, they will ask pointed questions on the quality, outcome, quality of life, rather than catching our feet and crying to save their life. So these financial intermediaries are going to be the change agents in healthcare. And I'm so happy that all these initiatives are taken. By the way, I have no idea who are the investors in PhonePe. I have no investment in that company.
So that's great. You answered half of my next question. But I would like to ask, like, can we have a dream of having Yashaswini program run pan-India?
See, the Yashaswini is a government health scheme, like the PMJ, the Ayushman Bharat, which is a wonderful scheme. But then the problem is huge cost of running the insurance, and sadly, half the patients who are taking the advantage of these schemes don't deserve the insurance. And people who do deserve the insurance don't know how to get it. I will give you an example. Most of these states are giving the card through BPL cards. All the poor people are given BPL cards. At least that was the way it was before. I'm not sure how it was. And Karnataka is one state where there are more BPL cards than the people. So in that kind of a scenario, who is a poor person? If everyone comes up with a BPL card, I get very, very annoyed. People come in the most expensive car, they have a mobile phone, Apple iPhone in their hand, and they show BPL card. And that is a right. And I'm helpless. I cannot refuse. So I support the government scheme all out, because there is, even if it is a 999 rupees, there are families where even that is a large amount of money for them, right? Government schemes should survive, they should flourish, but people who can afford to pay, if they get a insurance like this is the best thing what can happen, because that is sustainable in the long term.
Sir, there's a request from our female colleagues asking about your fitness mantra and how you stay fit despite such a hectic schedule.
Okay. Yes, yeah, it's very interesting. I have been always a fitness freak. I used to get a lot of, I used to be a bodybuilder. I used to participate in these competitions of bodybuilding, flexing muscles, martial art. I practiced martial art for many years. It's very important that youngsters do not get carried away with bodybuilding. Instead, they should be looking at the fitness. As I said, I have gone through the phase. I was a bodybuilder. I had big muscles, but when it is a question of flexibility, when it is a question of fitness, I would have preferred to mix the bodybuilding with yoga. And my advice to all the young doctors is practice yoga at least for 20 minutes a day. It is not a religious belief. I don't care whether it is a Hindu ritual or any other religious ritual. I really don't think it has got a relationship with the religion. But the exercise, as a doctor, I can tell you, my own personal experience. Around 5-6 years ago, I started getting pain in my knee. And I used to, as when you do a lot of exercise, you do get pain in the knee once in a while, and it lasts for some time. But this didn't go for a year. And I kept on telling my wife, and my wife kept on telling me that you have to start doing yoga exercise. And I told her that that's for the old people. That's not for me. And she started laughing, saying that, okay, well, soon you will listen to me. And exactly that's what happened. 2 years, I started looking at, whenever I was climbing steps, I was conscious about which leg is paining and which one to put forward. And in the end, I decided to take up, learn yoga. So I got a yoga teacher. I am not exaggerating. In not, I think, hardly 1 month or 2 months of exercise, the pain completely disappeared. Today, if you ask me, you suffered from the pain for 2 years, 3 years, which leg was it, right or leg? I have forgotten. And that is the power of these exercises. In medical terms, bodybuilding trains only the flexors, because that's what you can show off. Whereas yoga does a lot of work on extensors, like all the extension of the joints, so that over a period of time, you become a lot more flexible. So anyone wants to be fit, my advice, irrespective of your age, you continue with your bodybuilding. You like to show off your muscle, that's very good. I was like you many, many years ago. But also do at least 15-20 minutes of yoga exercise.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. These tips will be definitely helpful for our young doctors. Sir, if possible, on a lighter note, could you narrate a funny incident from working in the hospital or you as a student when in med school?
Yeah, I can narrate, but these are not very good examples, because my wife gets very upset when I talk about what I did in the medical college, because she didn't want her children, my children, to follow my footsteps. I wasn't one of those very, very dedicated student. I was always mischievous. And, I was a student union leader. I wanted to arrange a strike. And when the college did everything, I was studying in Kasturba Medical College. That's, according to me, that's the best medical college in the world. This is what I feel. But still, I wanted to go on a strike because I wanted my term as the association secretary to be remembered. That's the stupidest thing to do. Now, when I look back, I really feel like I feel very small. And anyway, I don't think I would like to talk about my past, because it's not a good example for the youngsters to follow. Yeah. But all I want to tell you that the day I started touching patients, life was different, because that is the best day of my life. When I started touching patients, talking to them, listening to them, trying to help them, then I realized that this is what I want to do in my life. Youngsters always want to get thrill out of doing something. And everyone has different things they want to do to get the thrill. And, touching people, helping them, that is what got me the thrill. Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, at last, do you have any message for our audience and young doctors who are listening to you?
Yeah, the first thing is, all the young doctors, I want to give a very clear message. I know it is very hard. I'm sure most of you are already doing your PG, or you're in the process of doing it, or you're appearing for the PG. Am I right in my assumption?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. My advice to all of you is that doesn't matter what PG seat is it, whether it's a MD, or through the National Medical Commission or a DNB or a diploma or whatever, try to get a PG seat in any specialty of your choice. And never give up. If you can't get it here, try to appear for the PLAB or a USMLE or whatever, go somewhere and get the PG seat. Because in this country, the regulation simply doesn't allow you to do anything more than just giving some basic drugs to the patients without a postgraduate qualification. And doesn't matter which institution where you get the PG seat. There is no patient has ever asked me where I got my training from. It doesn't matter where you get. Some people have a dream, I have to do MS only in AIIMS Delhi. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you have done during your MS. What matters is what you do after that. So just try to, and don't be obsessed in, some people have this thing about, oh, I need to top the university, top the college. It doesn't matter. What matters is how many hours you have spent with the patient. Some people spend all the time in the library trying to get as much information as possible, try to learn everything about the subject. But what matters is not how many hours you sat in the library and got the information. All the information, you can get it in your phone with the Google or one of those, the search engines. What matters is how many hours you have spent with the patient and how happy you made the patient. These are the only things what matters. That is what you learn during your PG. And as I said, work very, very hard to become some type of a specialist, even with a diploma degree, because that will make a huge, huge difference in your life. So this is my advice to all of you.
That was very inspiring, sir. Thank you so much. And yes, I would like you to deliver the thank you note now.
Thank you, sir, for taking your precious time for us. We definitely have learned a lot of information from you. Thank you.
Thank you. All the best. God bless.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
At last, I would like to request Gauri to introduce our collaboration partners, AMSA.
AMSA and Rotaract.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Yash, and good evening, everyone. I'm Gauri Nagani from MLP Medical College, and I'm the project head for Project Swasth Ajivika of AMSA, Asian Medical Students Association, India. AMSA India is a student-led, not-for-profit, non-political, non-governmental medical students organization, which started in 2011 and has spread its roots throughout the country with 7,000 plus member base and 300 plus prestigious colleges of our country. It represents students' interest in all spheres of the society and thus provides an excellent platform for their empowerment. And we are from the PHRD, which targets the general public awareness about the diseases and trying to bring about a change through AMSA. Thank you.
And our other partners were Rotaract Club of Delhi City and IMA GDN. So what is Rotaract Club of Delhi City? It's a youth-run organization under District 3012 under the aegis of Rotaract International. The club was started in 2019. Under this, we are running a number of programs such as Project Pathshala, in which we go and teach in government schools. And another is Project Corona, in which we target chronic diseases. Also, there are a number of camp like blood donation camp and a health checkup camp that we are offering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Hope it was a definitely informative, interactive session. And we will keep coming up with something like this, more frequently to inspire everyone. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. And thank you, Dr. Saksham, for giving us an opportunity to have a talk with Dr. Shetty.
Oh, that's my pleasure. Okay, so thank you so much. And definitely we'll be putting out the recording session of this as we will be getting so many messages about the recording of the session. So we'll be getting in touch with Team ClearNet to be putting it out on the YouTube channel, and then we'll be sending out the links as well. So Shalini, please let us know how we can access the recording session.
Sure, sir. You can connect with Ishita, sir. Ishika.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much. Thank you.
Shall we
Thank you
end it,
everyone
sir?
for joining in.
Signing off.